Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today. And I wanted to share something that I recently found while testing the paradox gauge of Trinket. I came across something that I hadn't before in my testing just because of how I set up the test and then necessarily, in content, you're not actually paying attention for this. So it was something that I did confirm with the developer that it is working as intended. So I wanted to share those results here because it does have a very profound impact on how to approach using certain pet trinkets. So let's get into that now. So I wanted to set a control parse just so we can kind of base some damage so you can see the actual divide between what I'm about to show and what would do normally. So the bull utility belt times 4 is a perfect example for that. Everyone knows how hard hitting it is in terms of overall damage, especially at the CRs we get now. So it should pop up here in a second once they disappear. About 986,000, so pretty much a mil damage. So what I found was that depending on the positioning, a lot of the trinkets, or pretty much every trinket that has a beam, will penetrate. It has penetration on line of sight. So as you can see here on the sparring targets, the way I have Father Box set up here is it penetrates all 3 targets with that beam. Now if I was standing normally out in front, it's only going to hit the 1 target, and then it has an AoE type attack. That's what we're used to seeing. Or at least when you're testing on sparring targets, that's what you're used to seeing. The like Seahorse, Father Box, the bats, they would hit 1 target, your primary target, and then they'd eventually have AoE attacks that hit everything. But now, depending on your positioning, you can actually get the beam to penetrate all the targets available. And you'll see here that it's actually quite massive damage, because when you think about it, that beam is normally hitting 1 target, now it's hitting 3 or 4 or 5 depending on positioning of the ads. And you're getting, quadruple the damage out of it. So you can see as a normal parse there, I had in 60 seconds was like 365k. Well, that parse right there, that was 970k damage. So I had triple the amount of damage I would normally get from Father Box just by positioning the trinket in a way that it's going to penetrate targets. Now, that's not always something you can achieve in content. There's obviously going to be some RNG factor with it, with how close you are, where the tank is, what the ads are doing. But that just shows you that these trinkets have the potential to be, massively higher damage. So I want to show this example here. This is just showing the spacing. So I know in the 3 targets, the sparring targets are a lot closer together. They're compact, so there's not as much divide between them. On the 8 targets, there's more separation. Once again, it's kind of hard to position. Like I said before, there's a bit of an RNG factor. That's why it's not hitting that 3rd one. But as you can see here, even with, what's that, 2 maybe 3 spaces between them, it's still hitting it. And I also showed this example is that the Father Box is hitting from range. So that the Father Box beam, or the trinket beam in general, because I'm going to show other trinket examples. It's not just Father Box. It's any trinket with a beam. As you can see there from range, it's still penetrating those 2 targets. So even if you're standing at range, if the NPCs are lined up correctly, you're going to have that beam penetration. So now, in a moment, I'm going to show you the Dark Construct bat. So the bats follow the same thing. Even though you don't see a beam with the bats, it's still based on the same principle. A lot of these trinkets are just reskins. So each of the bats, the Vampire Bat, Dark Construct Bat, Shadow Bat, they all have a beam type attack. It's just that it's invisible. So as you can see here, technically this is same thing. Like I said before, I'm going to talk about positioning in RNG. It's only hitting 2 targets instead of 3. Once again, that's just based on your positioning and how lucky you are with the ad. This still does 900k damage. And in this example, I have it hitting all 3. So it's still drastically different, because you can see in my previous videos where we're testing these pets at, you're looking at like, the 400,000 damage. And now when you're setting up and looking for beam penetration, that was a 1.1 million parse. So 1.1 million damage from 1 construct bat summon. So this is the potential of the beam penetration on these trinkets. So what does all this mean to you as a player? I mean, that's all fine and dandy, me showing you these damage and showing these parses, but what does that actually mean to you as a player? I mean, not really that much, because like I said before, it's not so much in your control. A lot of it's going to be on the tank, it's going to be on the ad positioning. It just goes to show you that something to watch out for, something to pay attention more. This has much more of a profound impact on source shard DPSing, because if you know of these normal pet trinkets, now they have the ability to have penetration on the beams. They can have much more damage on the God Wave hits, on the God Wave procs. So it's much more beneficial running something like this than, say, like a Grim, because you have the potential to have the damage penetration on these trinkets as opposed to the Grim, which never would. So it's just something to be more mindful of. In terms of that, the Summer Event Trinket that I've always hyped up for being like the best melee damage, well, now you can't run the Summer Event Trinket because it doesn't have a beam. So it's pretty much a lot of these, like all the bat trinkets, like Seahorse, the Gazer. I mean, all these trinkets have beams, and all they're going to have penetration. So there's another 1.1 million parse just from the Gazer. So massive damage to expect. So we'll see you in the next video, guys.